Hey everyone, I'm Tim.
And I'm the only Luddite in the OSINT world, Chris.
And welcome to the OSINT Output.
I wish I could start the podcast with this song, but I can't because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But today's Earth, Wind, and Fire Day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because it's the 21st, almost the 21st night of September.
We're close, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I will later on. I can't wait to find some juicy memes to send to all my chats. I have like 15 meme chats that I'm in. That's where I get all my news, by the way, for this podcast, just in case anybody's tracking.
Yeah, news from memes, man.
Yeah.
We're modern age at this point.
Yeah, and speaking of a good Google dork, if you guys want some juicy memes, do site:/discord.com and then memes, and then you'll come across all kinds of Discord meme servers. That's the best place to get memes now.
I don't like the emphasis on the word colon you put right there.
I have to. I got to use a space there. Like I do a space for punctuation. It's intentional. That way people aren't like confused where it came from.
I don't know. You said colon in too emphatic of a way for me.
I have to do it that way. So
Seems like you're implying I need to get checked out.
Probably. You are over 40 now, like officially. It's no longer like you're about to be over 40. You're officially over 40.
That's
Even on your birth certificate, people are like, well, this dude's over 40 now.
yeah. It's
Oh, had an interesting interaction. Handed my ID for a check the other day, right? And it was a youngish clerk,
Yeah.
obviously just fresh out of high school. And they look at my ID like super quick. I mean, one of the quickest ID checks I ever had, and just hands it right back to me. And I go, wow, you didn't even really look at my birthday.
Yeah, I saw the 19 and
She
moved
was like,
on.
You saw the 19. That was it. That's all they have to do now.
Yeah.
You
I
just
don't
look
even
at
need the rest of it.
They're like, now I know how my great grandfather felt after the 1900s.
Does that year start with a 1? Get him out of
We're
here.
good.
Yeah.
We're good. You were born in a different millennium,
Yeah,
sir.
You can.
But
That's embarrassing.
Chris found the news story this week, and it's actually a pretty good one because everybody is currently tracking a lot of autocratic, authoritarian regimes in the world. And this one right here is a pretty good one because they're actively selling their services to other countries around the globe. So the most authoritarian regime in the world, in my mind, right now, because of their censorship, is China.
I mean, their censorship is amazing. Like, they do a really good job at it.
And there was a leak recently that I'm going to let Chris talk about, but they kind of discussed the creation of, well, at least some of the software that goes from the Great Chinese Firewall. So take it away, Chris.
Yeah. So there was some hacktivists released, like 500, 600 gigs of data on, it included internal communications, it included technical specifications, and it included business practices, processes. It talked about its deep packet inspection, which is really fascinating. They try to individually inspect every packet that comes across when you're connecting. There's some really advanced VPN detection.
And I was reading that when it says advanced VPN detection, does it mean like, hey, this person's using the VPN, let's block connections coming from this request? It's actually trying to assign a unique identifier to that visitor so they can continue tracking them after VPN usage is no longer detected.
Yeah, that's oh god, I forget exactly the phrase that it used in the leak, but it said user identification and application or something like that. So yeah, they're tracking individual users who are trying to use these wall climbers to get outside of the Great Firewall.
I was going to download the entire leak, but I currently don't have a storage device big enough for it. It's almost 600 gigabytes. I think it was when I looked at the torrent. If you guys have never used torrent before, I guess we could get into that in a future episode. But it was 571.24 gigabytes, and I just didn't have a partition big enough for that. But GFW, right, is the acronym that they're going to use all through this Great Firewall of China. So let's talk about. Yeah, Chris actually used Google for this, so I heard it. So I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Fang Bing Jing.
Fang Bin Shang.
Oh, Fang
Xing. Fang Bin Xing.
There goes my southern right there.
Yeah.
I just gave myself away 100%. The father of the Great Firewall. What was his company, right?
It's Jeej. Is that it? Jeej?
Oh, I was pronouncing it Geej.
Geej.
but it might be Jeej. I don't know.
I have no idea. I didn't Google how to pronounce that one. I just wanted to get his name correct. But he seems really hopeful about what they're calling GFW in a box. So it's Great Firewall in a box, where they're selling it to all these other countries. There's Kazakhstan in there, Myanmar. I think Pakistan's part of that. And then my favorite one is an unknown country coded A24, which Tim learned applies to Call of Duty.
Yeah, the AI on Google decided to say, hey, this most likely refers to Call of Duty Black Ops. And I was like, okay, if you guys out there, like, I stopped playing Call of Duty when Black Ops 2 came out. But so the GFW in a box that we were talking about, currently 4 countries are using it: Kazakhstan, Ethiopia, Pakistan, and Myanmar. And Myanmar specifically, of course, 5 years ago, famously had a coup, and they've probably been using that ever since then to monitor citizens' traffic.
Oh, absolutely.
And scrolling on through, there's a great summary, and again, that link that I'm going to post in the description for this podcast will have the roll-up from the GFW report and links to the organizations that did the ones. But the one I'm reading from right now is Intersect. And it's just because that's the one I clicked on first that had a great summary up front, so that's what I was looking at. And here are some key things from it. First of all, what Chris was talking about, the mass export of their Great Firewall model, regionalizing it. So not just regionalizing it for where it's going to be located at for whomever they're selling it to, but also within China as well, because China, if y'all haven't looked at a globe recently, because I rarely ever look at one.
It's not a small country. It's not benign.
Yeah, it's pretty big. So,
or is it Benin?
With
is it Benin or benign? Is that how you pronounce that?
Benign.
Benign? Yeah. It's not benign.
Yeah. Commoditization of surveillance capabilities. Identifying VPNs, which we already talked about, truly novel approach where you could actually see if a user is using a VPN, assign them a specific identifier. And this is interesting because Tor is included in this as well.
Yep.
It's designed to prevent fingerprinting, but it seems like they're trying to identify Tor users and track their activity after Tor is no longer being used.
Active fingerprinting, they're trying to turn off those connections when they come to them. They just reset it. That way they're involved in what's going on, and then all the keyword searching to ban block searches and stuff like that is really fascinating. And they put all of the packets that are transferred, if a secure handshake is made or if a handshake is made, they put all the packets through layers of that keyword searching, which is really cool.
If they're
terrible from a censorship standpoint, like if you're a netizen trying to get on the internet out there, or if you're in any of these other countries trying to get on the internet. But it's really fascinating from a technical standpoint how deep their censorship goes.
Yeah, decrypting all traffic and making keyword searchable is huge. There are actually some cybersecurity companies that implement security
features.
Yeah, that implement security features like that for organizations, but to do that en masse for an entire population on behalf of the government, something that is not good. Expanding digital authoritarianism through regular OS updates. So China does have its own operating systems that it manages, mainly based off open source models. So think Linux, Unix environments such as Android, maybe even Mac. Some of those that have been purpose-built for them. Oh, huge. No built-in legal or ethical guardrails on sharing and use of data. So that's huge. In the United States, it's funny because while we do have this, and have always been ever since we founded our Constitution, always wanted the government not to be up in our business.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, I don't want them anywhere near my stuff.
Yeah, on the internet, apparently we don't care.
Well, we should care. I think there's a lot of unknown, and then because it was unknown for so long, there's a lot of apathy about it.
And there have been organizations that have been trying to bring it to the forefront of citizens' minds, such as Electronic Frontier Foundation. They're letting people know, hey, our ability to be anonymous on the internet, that's slowly going away, and the ability to talk about whatever we want is slowly going away. So it's important for us to bring that back.
And you own no data.
Yes. For most of the United States, California has kind of come to.
Yeah, they're following that European model, that EU model, as far as the data protection.
Yeah, they're not saying, hey, you know what you put on the internet, your own. They're saying that what you put on the internet needs to be protected so that nobody else can get to it. And, going on.
And so the Great Firewall is actively working against that process.
Mm-hmm.
And they're exporting it.
Going on. Let's see here. Data sovereignty, which is kind of goes hands in hands with ethical guardrails on sharing and use of data. Ooh, this is a big one because China, whenever you're a corporation over there, typically the government will approach you and ask you to put in backdoors to your software or hardware so they can monitor citizens' use.
So if you have, and this is something I've been fortunate enough to do some research on lately. If you have any sort of front-facing web page, if you're an organization in China, whether it's social media or whatever, you as the company are responsible for everything that gets put on there. So if you have a comment section and someone puts something that is censorable by Chinese standards or the CCP standards, you as a company are responsible for what that individual put on your platform.
That's why I'll never move to China with our website. So what I was going on with here for commercial hardware vendors or even software, I guess, it has to assume software as well. It's designed for interoperability, meaning that the Great Firewall, if there are any hardware providers that you work with in your country, they can make the Great Firewall model work with those hardware vendors. They can more surveil citizens.
It's a super adaptable platform that they've established. It's really it's incredible, I think.
And I think one comment in here, if I could see it, or you mentioned it, Chris, was that it violated a lot of open source licenses.
Yeah, I mean that. I don't think they care.
Or which I mean, most governments don't once they start doing something. Speaking along the lines of, censorship and monitoring citizens, the EU that we've talked about is great for privacy over there, but they recently put forth a referendum to try to combat international human trafficking and then also organized crime. And one of the threats, and this I've heard this at multiple conferences that I went to, one of the threats that they see to the ability to combat human trafficking and organized crime are encrypted messaging applications.
Oh, yeah. Those are my favorite messaging applications to use.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not talking about texting. We're talking about you talking to someone else, and it's end-to-end encrypted, and even the middleman, whoever's providing the service for you to talk to someone on the other side of the world, even they don't know what message is being sent, right? So the EU has,
if you listen to the previous episode, we talked about these apps.
Exactly.
So go with the federated app.
Yeah. Building on top of that, the EU is looking at making it to where citizens no longer have the ability to encrypt their messages from one device to another.
So given what I know about how France protests, they're going to be pulling some stuff out into the streets, man.
Yeah. Montesquieu would be rolling in its grave right now if nothing like that happened in France. But anywho, definitely check out this report. If you have the ability to download some of these files to review them yourself, highly recommend it. Be sure to use it in an isolated environment, not connected to the internet after you download them, because some of these are raw files. There's one in here that I see that I really want to read. It's called Response to Customer Suggestions. And I'd like to know who the customers are. We're
going to have to do an update on that for the next episode. But yeah, so the link that Tim's going to drop into the description of all this, I think it actually says that in paragraph 3 is, hey, OPSEC's really important here. We don't really know what all of this stuff is. So if you're going to download any of it, do it in a secure environment or an isolated environment so you're not compromising any of your stuff.
Yeah, I started downloading it. I clicked start without looking at how big it was, and I just instantly said, I'm just going to delete this VM and start over again. But next we're getting into... So one of the things that we've done so far throughout this entire podcast is we've talked about a lot of stuff, but not really resources that you can use to investigate individuals. I think we wanted to have a good primer for a lot of people to understand.
Is it primer or is it primer?
It's primer. It will always be primer coming from my mouth.
I'm gonna
brother.
say primer. Is that okay?
No, it's not, because then we'll get into an argument. We wanted to make sure that people at least understood OSINT from its most basic foundations, and then going into elements of privacy and security that build on top of that. So this episode is going to be about resources that you can use, and I recommend that if you have the ability to do it, because of course don't do this while you're driving if you listen to podcasts like I do, but go check out some of these resources, see if you can use them. Also, you can check out our website. I think I have all these listed on our website as well if you want to use them. But the very first one,
the OSINToutput.com/resources.
Yeah. The very first one we're going to talk about, which is
What's My Name?
Yeah, one of the really, really useful ones is what'smyname.app, created by OSINT Combine, Chris Poulter, who's a CEO, lovely man. I've met him a few times, taller than you would think. When he talks, you're like, hey, I can see you being about 5'9", 5'10". No, he's like 6'3".
I had no image of this dude in my head at all. So like taller than you would think means like I immediately think the opposite. Oh, he's like 4 feet, which is, anyways.
No, I'm just kidding, but he's a really great dude. And What's My Name allows you to take any usernames and put them in here and search multiple data sources. So I'm gonna let Chris talk about it while I put something in, so I can talk about some of the results to get back. But it's What's My Name. That's not without there's no apostrophe. What'smyname.app.
So one of the things that we use for this is we look for usernames. Oftentimes when we're doing personality profiles or identity profiles, you want to make sure that the person you're talking to or the person that you're vetting or whatever is legitimate. And if you have like a Facebook page and a username, you can plug that username into some of these other resources just to see if that username is being used somewhere else. And it could give you an indication as to what this person is doing in other spaces online. If they're contradicting themselves in their front-facing stuff, if they have LinkedIn, stuff like that, that can give you additional places to identify this person and build out profiles for vetting, things like that.
And it gives you back results from, of course, search engines like Google. And then it also...
I think it does Bing too, right?
I just see Google down here. I don't see Bing.
Oh, fair enough.
And then it also looks to see if any of these are registered. These usernames are registered on any website. So, for example, I always search me. Online, I have 2 unique usernames. One of them is personal. I typically don't give it out unless you email me personally. And the other one is my gamer tag, which I'll freely tell anyone. It's ZMike70Z. And I always search those to see if anybody's ever registered those or where they come from. And right now I'm getting a lot of results back. It searches over 1,360 data sources. And I actually got an interesting result back that I totally forgot about. I've been sitting here every single day at my computer, and I've been wondering why the GPU usage and RAM usage has been spiking. I forgot that I downloaded Folding at Home years ago and have been using it. Have you heard of Folding at Home, Chris?
I have no idea what that is.
So if folding
does that teach you how to fold laundry?
No,
because the Navy taught me how to fold laundry.
The Folding at Home allows you to use your computer resources to assist in biological research. So they go through and they...
Are you doing like CRISPR research down here?
Actually, I think it has been used in that. So you can volunteer so much of your compute power to assist.
Okay. So you're helping other people do research by offering power.
Yes, and I forget which.
So you're part of a P2P network for biological research.
I don't know if it's truly peer to peer, but kinda. Yeah.
So when we get mutant man frogs, you're part of that cause.
No.
Or you're on the inside. You're part of the controlling entity.
So they're looking at different infectious diseases, cancers, neurological diseases, such as Alzheimer's, Huntington's, Parkinson's. Research that would take a human being years to do by going through, each type of protein, how they're put together, like taking all these samples and analyzing them individually. computers can do it, at 100,000x speed
Yeah.
of humans. So I volunteered my compute power for it, and it started spiking one day, and I realized I had it set on high, so I had to put it on low while I was gaming.
So it changed your frag rate.
Yeah, dude, it was not fantastic. But anyways,
That's the only time Tim's had a lower than 1 kill death ratio.
Yeah, the only reason why I saw that was because I'm actually listed on one of these results for folding at home with my gamer tag that I've been using for years. I'm no longer at the top. But one time I was near the top when I was doing it, but I think that was a 24-hour result. But anyways,
So what's my name.app can teach you about folding at home that you have currently.
Yep. And then one of the ones that I use, not exclusively by any means, because I highly recommend that if you do use one resource, you can go back to it, but try to find other resources to build on top of it, is Sherlock. And I don't think Chris has used it in a long time because he said, he was like, isn't that locked behind a paywall? And I said, no, brother, it's open source.
I was looking at a different thing, but yeah. Explain it, dude. Tell us what we got here.
So Sherlock, I do believe it has a GUI interface, a graphical user interface, but it's mostly used what?
Who makes Sherlock?
It's so on the GitHub. There are multiple contributors for it. Hang on.
I didn't mean to distract you. I was just curious. I like to know what organizations are behind the stuff.
Let me look and see who created the original branch. So the original branch was created by 3 individuals. Sandriel, Santya, and then PP Feister. Oh, this one, and it actually gives you where they're located at. If they put in their profiles in GitHub, which a lot of people typically do, but it's an open source project that anybody can contribute to if you want. You just have to be approved in the project first by the project creator.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And you can go here and review the entire code. And it searches through, if I look at the list, last time I looked, it was dozens. Now it's probably into the hundreds of different websites that it searches on to see if your username or a username is registered on those websites. And again, searching me, I can go through and see that I've been registered on Xbox. I've been registered on Imager because I use that. Keybase, which is a messaging application that uses PGP by default for end-to-end encryption, and Discord, which is of course common, but it's mostly terminal based. So you have to go into terminal or you have to go into command line to use it. And it's not hard once you know the commands.
You know what would be a great novel feature for Sherlock is if they could tell you what your distance is from Baker Street. You're 3.4 miles from Baker Street.
But use a VPN if you're concerned about that. And for any OSINT activity, you probably should be using a VPN.
As long as we don't have the GFW working against us, your VPN should work just fine.
Mm-hmm. GFW, great firewall. I'm gonna keep saying that over and over again because it's so close to GSW. I'm like, why are we talking about
gunshot wounds?
Yeah, why are we talking about violent content right now? And then the next one, which is of course what everyone uses, and Google has taken a more proactive stance against doxing, but you can use Google as well.
Oh, Google is especially for like your popular, super popular Western social medias. Google is great. You can drop a username in there, or if you have a first last name, you can drop that in there because oftentimes someone's Facebook will be associated to that. And then from there, you can find an Instagram, you can find a WhatsApp account, and anything in that meta universe you can probably find from Google, even if their stuff is locked. Like if they have content restrictions on their Facebook, you can still find that they have an account. And then Instagram has added this feature that if you're in someone's profile, you can look at it and it'll tell you what other usernames that they've had for that profile. And then you can search those other usernames to expand further.
That's also true of Steam as well.
Oh, Steam does that too?
Yeah, so Steam, if you have ever used another username on your profile, it will actually list out all the usernames. You have to go in and manually delete that. So at any time you can go on your Steam profile and change your name to anything you want to. And there's actually no collision detection on Steam, so you can have the same username as someone else. So if you want your username to be Conquistador, right? If somebody else is using that one, then it will say, like, I'll let you use this one because there's so many users on Steam. There's a really low likelihood of you guys going into the same server or the same game and using that. But it does happen.
I'm impressed that you were able to say that in one shot. Like, we didn't edit that. You got that at once.
I've been practicing all morning, folks.
As soon as Tim tells me what kind of Steam Deck I need to get, I'll have a Steam account.
I already told you. I sent it to you. It's a second tier model because I at least want you to not be as much of a pleb as you currently are with no PC. Oh God, going back to the Master Race comment.
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go.
That we talked about.
Tim considers PC gamers to be the master race. And my lowly self as a console gamer, which I don't even like. I enjoy video games. I don't think I'm a gamer.
I think anybody who plays any game is a gamer.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
And then going back to this, but Google, excellent resource for you to use to search usernames. And then also don't forget about your other search engines as well, because each search engine will index content differently, especially where it's located at in the world. So Yandex will index Russian content, Baidu will index that, Naver will index.
If you know you're looking for a VK account, you want to use Yandex.
Or you can use google.ru as well. Try to use the servers where it's physically located at in the world to get more applicable results. But do remember, when you're using some of these services, they could intentionally not include results from those services as well. So always pivot back and forth. Pivot will become your best friend word in OSINT, going back and forth between multiple resources.
Everyone uses it. They often reference that one Friends episode where they're trying to move a couch. Just pivot, right?
I always do that.
I think that's one of the core things of doing OSINT or being an OSINT practitioner is the ability to pivot, flex from one tool to another, one site to another, and then, of course, my favorite is just to be curious. Always be curious about stuff.
The comment question I'll always get when I'm instructing or talking to people about OSINT is, can't there just be one resource that I go to in order to find all this stuff? And while I think there are some great tools out there that attempt to compile it into one resource you can use, you're ultimately going to have gaps in that tool no matter what, because not everybody can go to one source and find everything that they need. So always go back and forth between multiple ones to see what you can get back.
Well, humans are different creatures, and everyone operates on a slightly different wavelength or massively different wavelengths, depending on who you're interacting with. So in order to, if you're doing human profiling, you need to understand how that human processes information and how they put stuff online, because that'll help you identify the forums that they're in, the places that they go, and the data stuff that they put out there, which is the stuff that you're looking for ultimately to build a profile for vetting in one way or another.
And on top of that, your biases come into play heavily. I remember I was talking to some of my coworkers, and my supervisor said, hey, don't look at this resource. He was specifically talking about Reddit because there's a lot of trolls on there, but he loved Twitter as a resource. So he specifically, he put a reporter's comment. And again, I agree with him putting the report in there because they could be a firsthand source of information. But I said, hey, brother, go look at the comments on that post and tell me there's not any trolls on Twitter. And he was like, blah, 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 like they're authoritative. And he scrolled down. The very first one was the username like Conquistador, right? And he goes, okay, Tim, I see your point. Yeah. And I actually...
He's trading trolls for bots at that point.
And now I'm happy that I introduced Reddit to him as a resource because, as we've known, the direction that Twitter has taken over time kind of makes it a little bit more authoritative for some sources. But another resource for usernames after the Googles is hunter.io. Chris, have you ever used hunter.io?
I have dabbled in it recently, but I'm not an expert on it.
So I love hunter.io. Most of it is locked behind a paywall now, but you can get results back for free. You can go here. It's mainly used for sales leads. So what they do is they go to these companies' websites, and they index information about some of the C-suites and senior leaders there. So let's say you're looking for the HR coordinator for, I don't know, Canva, right?
Yep.
For whatever reason. They will take their usernames from that website, put them into that format, and then you can go search for a company. It'll give you back all the usernames for that company. So something big like, let's say, Google, right?
Yeah.
Of course, their domain is going to be google.com, but how are the employees' usernames, email addresses structured in such a way? Hunter will tell you that. So if you're looking for somewhat of a small company or a startup, because Hunter actively looks for those, you can go and find those usernames and how they're formatted and send out mass marketing emails until you say, hey, don't send me any more emails. Yeah. That's actually a good tactic, by the way. If you're in sales or HR or recruiting, if you want to connect with people, you can generate email lists from tools like Hunter so you can start connecting with professionals in your same field.
And, I mean, there's other tools that you can use to verify that those email addresses are valid as well. I know Central Ops has a version of email verification to check its XMP server and ping time.
And then, so DNS info. So if you, and you can go to the one that I use because it's free and it's worked great for me. And they also have an API connection that's free as well. I think you can get up to 100 lookups per day before you get throttled. But viewdns.info, again, all these websites are available on our website at theosintoutput.com. You can go here and search by a name or an email address, which Chris actually found somebody, right? You said you put an email address in, which is really rare nowadays for websites because
everything's being redacted and
they're
using services.
They use domain registrars like Cloudflare or Namecheap, which remove the email registration from being seen when you do a DNS lookup.
Yep. And so this is another one. If you have the appropriate information and you're doing personality profiling, like have I been pwned and stuff like that, you can learn information about people by tossing it in there. Although the user interface and there's some different restrictions that have changed on that now because of the doxing considerations.
Yeah, have I been pwned? You can't just mass look up well, first of all, what is Have I Been Pwned? So haveibeenpwned.com is maintained by a cybersecurity researcher named Troy Hunt. I think he's
such an appropriate name.
Yeah. I think he still works for Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken, but you can go to his webpage, check it all about him. I think he actually has his resume listed on haveibeenpwned.com, and you can connect with him on LinkedIn. But what he does is he gets samples or the entire database for breached, compromised, leaked information, and then he puts it into a searchable interface so you can see if any of your emails or usernames have been leaked so you can take the appropriate action. And again, if you guys go to this website and you put in your personal email address, for me specifically, right, if I put in, let's say, timothyfarmer@gmail.com, and I find that it has been pwned, then you would want to go and change all your passwords immediately if you had never detected that breach before. But really great resource, been using it for years. And also from the cybersecurity perspective, if you have certain authorizations to go offensive in certain scenarios, let's say you're doing pen testing for someone, or you work for an organization that is trying to access an individual's content because you either have them in custody or you were given permission from this individual to access it, which this happens all the time. Bring someone in, they say, hey, I forgot the password to my account, but if you can find it, go in here. I've actually had that happen before.
Oh, I don't know the password to any of my stuff anymore. That's why I tattoo it on my inner thigh.
You can go there and see if the passwords work. Now, one of the things that you'll run across is people will usually reuse their usernames. So once you find something on one service, more than likely they're using everywhere else. Like me specifically,
you can find it or a variation of it.
Me specifically, ZMOC70Z, I use it across all of my gaming services. But what if I just use Mike? That's a big one too. Really easy to take off the 70 and the Z's. But there are times where you have variations on usernames and you're not quite sure how to put them together. There's username generator there to assist you. So you can go to usernamegenerator.com, and this is actually one that's not on our website yet, so I need to add it. And you can throw in a keyword and it will generate those for you so you can begin searching those instantly.
Yep, it just gives you additional things to search, especially if you've run into a brick wall or your rabbit hole hasn't panned out.
Yeah, so you can put in For this one, it's just a couple of keywords, but there are probably other ones out there where you can add more than one word, and you click generate, and it will give you different variations on how those can be used, so you can start searching those in your favorite search engine or username search engine.
Yeah, that's when you're doing bulk searches just to see what spaghetti sticks to the wall.
Mm-hmm. Then, oh gosh, there's a lot of them in here. There's also an anagram search as well.
Rancid Smith, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Rancid Smith.
See, that was going to be pseudonymous, but not now. It's totally associated with me. Now I got to go through here. There's one for Crash. That's pretty cool. But I put Tim and Chris in here just to see what anagrams we get back, and I saw a Rancid Smith. That's a pretty good one. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to use that one for a lot of our
not
stuff,
anymore.
for a lot of our aliases.
I just ruined it for him.
Yeah, this is why I can't talk signature reduction with this guy, because he just says things, and things mean things. So, anywho, what are the resources, man?
Yeah, dude.
Any more?
I mean, oh geez, are we still doing personality profiling, or are we looking up usernames?
Again, we're looking at from the start of this, it's unique information that's associated with a person.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a couple things. Although it'll be a lot of stuff will be in that either that paywall model, or we'll give you a piece of the information without paying. So like Spokio will give you stuff, Pipple will give you stuff. But there is some pay features of those, so it won't give you all of it, but it will give you additional kernels and seeds that you can then revamp your search process and pivot back to some of your other tools to give you additional information.
Pipple and Spokio are mostly based in North America, so they're looking at public records for North America, so that's kind of biased. But there are other public records for different countries and continents around the globe, so definitely check those out. Another one is OSINT Industries. So they're slowly going towards a paid model in the future, but you can still sign up for some free searching for OSINT Industries. And then another one that I like to use, and they've gotten worse now. So the reason why Chris is talking about Pipple, a lot of the OSINT training that we went through almost a decade ago now for both of us, it's getting close to that.
I don't appreciate you saying that.
Pipple allowed you to search for a username and get back really, really great results, even from corporate records for public filings. So there have been ones that have replaced that, and Pipple is now mostly locked behind a paywall. Some of their search results you can get through from a search engine like Google or Bing, but for a lot of information you want to access, it's now locked behind a paywall. There are other ones that have slowly taken its place, such as Nuber, NUWBER.com. You can put in a person's name, phone number, address, or email and get back public records about them and associations through social media. Really great resource. Another one that I've been using recently and has been around for a while is idcrawl.com. You can put in a person's name, username, phone number, or email address and get results back. And then, I can't go into this one. We haven't had a signature reduction episode yet, but there are resources for you to generate an entire identity. One of the ones that I really like using is thispersondoesnotexist.com.
Oh, that's where you can get fake faces to create some fun profiles.
Yeah, so when you go here, you can just go to this person does not exist, and then every single time you click on it, it'll generate a new photo, and all of these are people who don't exist, but they look really, it's hard to tell that they're not a person if you use them as a profile picture.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot better. Like I remember using this website back in the day, and it was just, there's 3 nostrils.
That does happen. The biggest way I can tell like a fake person compared to a lot of other profiles is symmetry. So if everything is symmetrical on a face, that's not great, because no person, regardless of who you are, unless you've had massive amounts of work done, will ever have a perfectly symmetrical face. And then also the focus for the eyes. If there's an AI generated photo, for some reason, AI can't detect the focal point of where a lens is located at on the camera to look into it, and each eyeball is slightly askew, so you can measure the distance between the pupils to see if it's actually correct or not.
They're looking in wild directions. Yeah,
well, not a wild direction. It's just that they're not focused on that singular focal point where the lens is located at on the camera. But quick AI tip. And also, like Chris said, look for minor variations in the photo. So like you can say like, oh my God, this person looks great, but you look behind them at a sign and it's not in any language known to man.
I like there was one of my favorites where the person had dimples, but one of the dimples was in the cheekbone. So like on one side it was perfect, and then the other one it was a little hot. This is one of our random smatterings of how we. Well, so I mean, but like when I'm doing personality profiling, and you probably agree to this, is like when you're looking into an individual to verify their existence, verify that they are who they say they are, to vet them in some way or another, is like everyone is different. So like while you can develop, these tools and this discipline to go, all right, this is kind of my process, you have to account for the flexibility to go in just 100 different directions and figure out, what these people are doing and what they're putting out there. So while, I have a standard list of resources that I can use, I don't use all of them for every research project. I don't, sometimes I'll use one, and that'll give me enough stuff to go on this tangent to find all of the other stuff for verification, authenticity, and all of that stuff. So while I have a list of resources for human verification or profiling, it's humans are varied enough that those just give you start points, and then you really dive into it just by being curious and understanding how to manipulate your search strings and how to manipulate the algorithm that comes back to you.
One of the things that you'll run into all the time is where you will encounter a wall where you just can't go any further. And I will say, don't think that's a failure on your part. Sometimes you just can't find information. So just feel free to tell someone like, hey, I really found this, but I can't go any further. It might be worth it to, just stop your investigation there. Don't bang your head against a wall if you can't find any information. I will say that because at the end of the day, the reason why you're being asked a question is because the person who's asking it, right, the customer, sometimes they don't have the answer either. And verifying that information does not exist is just the same as verifying that it does exist.
Yeah, you can always come back and go, hey, I know you're looking into this person. I couldn't find anything to prove that they said who they were. So just be cautious or keep that in mind when you continue your interactions.
And with that being said, Chris, what's up, dude?
Oh, how you doing, man? What did you do for your birthday, dude?
Our birthday?
Yeah.
So Chris's and mine's birthdays fall within the same week every year. If anybody wants to find out,
Yeah,
almost
every year.
It will be in the same week every year, in the same 7 days every year. So if you guys happen to find out what that is, feel free to leave us a comment on our website and it'll come to us. But this year, I'm upset for two things. Number one, I knew what was happening that day because I told both of you guys, you and my wife, and like, you're a terrible planner. She said that from the get-go. And then number two, if I had known legitimately that I was going to this, I would have gotten something for him to sign. But I went and saw Video Games Live, and Chris went with me. He was there.
Tim got to meet one of his heroes.
Not hero is a strong word, but definitely someone that I admire for what he's done for the gaming community. Tommy Tallarico, who is the creator of Video Games Live, because a lot of people now, because of past tendencies of how video games were created in the crowd that followed them, seem to think that it's not a artful medium, I guess you would say. And when Tommy came out on stage and talked about it, it was like truly an eye-opening moment for people who actually are passionate about the same things that I am. So we went and saw it was a concert. Well, not an orchestra.
I don't normally. So I mean, Tim is by far the more emotional one of the two of us, by far. But I don't normally get to see him like giddy excited. Like I mean, he'll do that like he's talking about how Zelda's showing up or whatever. But like he doesn't get giddy excited often, and it was like that was really cool to see. And then I got to nudge him and force him to ask questions to Mr. Tallarico. and Tim asked some really insightful questions that you could tell he had been thinking about for a while, but I didn't think that he was going to say them without nudging.
No, I wouldn't. It's not about nudging at all. It was just that I've been lucky in my life to have a lot of interesting opportunities to chat with people, and I didn't know about the people near me if they would ever have those opportunities again. So that's more what I was thinking about. Like, this person will probably be like a once in a lifetime event that they'll never get to see this again, and I wanted to give them the opportunity rather than me. So I was trying to be altruistic and I guess selfless. And you're like, "No, dude, just you're here too, and you pay for this crap. Why don't you get to be selfish as well?"
Well, you didn't pay for it, but
Yeah, I kinda. I
Well,
did a little bit. It was
your wife and I took care of it.
I paid for food,
but
sir.
And I won't go into all of this, but one of the stories that Tim got out of Mr. Tallarico was about the time that dude's father got lit on fire at a show.
It was in China, and one of the things that I asked was, within video games, right? There's a lot of grandeur when it comes to some of these major themes, a lot of cinematics, especially for the final one, which I'm so happy that he played because he talked about it before the show started. Because again, my wife being my wife and Chris being my best friend, they got me the backstage pass so we could actually talk about the show and see how everything's set up. I asked him about pyrotechnics during the show, and at the end they played Liber Fatale, which is one of the best Final Fantasy songs by Nobuo Uematsu. And he said, "Hey, since we're indoors, we can't do that. It's a fire hazard, of course." But he was like, "Hey, this one time in China," and he talked about the fact that none of the pyrotechnic coordinators and the event coordinator talked to each other with the show creators, so they just randomly had fireworks going off at the very end.
They didn't know when they were coming, yeah.
And he said that one whatever it was just launched straight at his dad, and he's over there and he hit his jacket and it's just on fire while Tommy's on stage playing the guitar. So it was a great story. But yeah, really, really fascinating. I've been waiting to attend this event because I think he said he started it in 2004 was when he started creating it. And the very first show, which we actually got a ticket from, and I have it in front of me because I just took everything out of my bag because I'm lazy and don't empty anything out, was 2005 at the Hollywood Bowl. So $36 for this ticket.
Yeah.
Dude, way more than that to go now. Ticketmaster.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I know how much money I gave your wife.
But
it was more than $7.
Definitely more than $3.50.
Yeah.
More than $3.50. Ooh, let's not to get too super political in this podcast because we try to stay away from it. Chris, since you're a big football fanatic,
all right,
well, just sports in general.
Yep.
How about that ESPN subscription? You're gonna?
It's I don't know, man. So I'm gonna do the right thing, but I'm not happy about it. Not happy about it.
I can get you access to that content if you want me to.
Well, so what's funny is I have access to that content without the subscription. But
you just want it. I mean, you still get the ESPN notifications no matter what, right? You just can't see some of the content.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I have access to the content outside of that because I like doing what we do on a regular basis. So I have access to it.
But I think the only reason why Chris got the ESPN app was just so he could hear the notification.
Oh yeah, that's great. It's one of my favorite little jingles, man.
But yeah, if you guys aren't tracking, because surprisingly, a lot of the people that I was talking to wasn't tracking the current political climate that we're in, especially after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But it's really interesting seeing how everything has evolved over the last week. So if you guys haven't done any Google searches, checked out social media on that recently, it's really interesting to see how both sides of the political spectrum have evolved over the last week in regards to especially memes. Memes have been kind of juicy.
The internet's been a wild place.
But with that, that's all I got. If you guys haven't, check out Earth, Wind, and Fire. So play it in my honor because we'll be playing that this evening to annoy the crap out of my family.
Do you remember?
The 25th night of September. But thanks, guys, for listening. It's been a while since we've done an interview. So,
yeah.
But this has been Chris and Tim on the OSINT Output.
It's Tim and Chris.